Okay, let me use the work of one of our students here to demonstrate another technique to texture your character, and I'm sure you are going to like that technique very much so. That technique is more interactive and lets you use Photoshop to paint directly on the 3D mesh. That's right. That's right. You can bring inside Photoshop your 3D mesh and paint it. That's completely true. So I got the gentleman right here, and we can look at the head of his character, for example, and say we want to paint that in Photoshop. All right. So what we do is we need to export each pieces as what's called an OBJ. It is Maya export format basically. The thing is, when you select the here and you select your mesh, you go to export selection, it will not show in your menu right here. By default, the OBJ export is not turned on. You need to go turn it on. So you need to go to Window, Setting Preferences, Plugin Manager right here. And in the Plugin Manager right here, you go until you find the OBJ export right here. OBJ export, and you load it and auto load it, so it loads every time. You close it, now you can export. So you select your file and you go export selection, and you go down to OBJ. Alrighty, OBJ export. You give it a name. Let's put it on desktop. We'll do Hamley, which is the student's name. Thank you to him to let me use that. It's a good example. That's why I'm using it for the class. And we'll do ahead. Alright. Now we're done with Maya for now, actually. Now we go into Photoshop. Now in Photoshop, we're going to simply open our OBJ. So we go where the OBJ is, and it's with an edge. Right here. And you can see there's two of the same file. Alright. One is called Hamley Head Texture OBJ. The other one, the same thing, but it's called .mtl. That's for material. Don't open that up. That one is cool by itself. Just open this one, the OBJ, and it's gonna ask you what type of size. You're gonna say just default Photoshop size, and you're gonna click right here. It's gonna work pretty hard. And it say you're about to create a 3D layer. Would you like to switch to a 3D workspace? Yes, you want. Say yes. It's going to work even harder. It requires a good computer. If you don't have a strong computer, it will not work. Now let's see. We have the object now in 3D in front of us. A cool looking hand of a mime. You have the tools right here or right there to rotate in 3D. Just go around in 2D, rotate in 2D. And pan right here. And you have the zooming right there. Don't use the camera one. That'll change the focal length system by instead of dollying. This is a dollying. This is much better. All right. Now let's look at our what we got. We got in 3D. Let me zoom in a little bit. And now let's look at our texture. You go in the layer right there, and you can see the texture. By default, it will make only a diffuse map. So you double click on it, and it opens the map right here. Alright? This is by default. Let's just get a paint, red, just a second, and start looking what we can do. Make a new diffuse, up, that's okay, we click OK. It'll make the map for us, and now we can paint on it. Alright, so that's a pretty cool tool. It's really big right now, so let me make it smaller. You can paint wherever you want on it. It works very well. You can rotate. Alright, you can give you can create new layers, so you can go right in and say, hey, paint on selected target, and you're in a diffuse right now, you can create bump, specular, opacity. All right, so let's say we do a bump right here, and we go find a texture. Let's say right here. All right, and you're gonna do that. It'll ask you, do you want to create a bump map? You said yes. Click OK, and you'll go right here. Change your color on the bump and start bumping. That one is pretty big in size. Alright, and you can start basically, you know what I'm saying? Depending on the color, it will do less or more. So if I do a gray now, look how it's gonna react. It's less. See, it's less than what we had before in the thickness. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Very useful tool, and you can do everything you want like that, following the lecture that and video that I've made that shows you how to paint those things. That's pretty much it. You can do even transparency if you need. If you go right here, you can even go there and say, hey, I want an actual opacity map, for example, and he's gonna ask you, do you want to create? You say okay. Now if you do black, then look what's gonna happen. I'm not completely black right now, so let's see. Hold on. I should be able to get through. Hold on a second. There you go. You see, we can see through the mesh now. See, it's behind. See right here, you can see the back of the mesh or the back of the inside. This is completely empty inside it. Alright, the gray that you see is the other side of the mesh, basically. Right here. So that's really cool trick if you need transparency. Okay, and you can do specular also. Right here. And that's the color that's gonna shine basically. So you say okay as usual. See how shiny it is right now. If I go to the specular map by double clicking on that layer, I can see. Alright, and I'm going to basically bring in a black into it, because, well, let's face it, I don't want it to be completely shiny at first. Let me see, I'm looking for, well, I'm going to take a just really big brush. Right here, and then you close. Let me make that smaller, and then you close that, and it will save it for you. Alright, you see now how dull it is. Now if I go back and put like a whitish color in it and start going after, see how it's bringing the specular into it? So you can do all your speculars like that for the ridge of the nose ridge. You know, everything can be done really well like that. It's very useful, very strong tool, you guys, as you can see. And then when you're ready to go and you save, you basically go into the layers and you go to each layer one after the other, double click on it right here and say save. And you save your map and you put them in the proper channel in Maya, which is basically in Maya, if you go to the texture, you would put the color map in the color map, the transparency map in the transparency map, and the bump map or normal map in the bump mapping, and that's it. You're good to go. And in the specular color, the specular map, and that will do the complete job. Okay, so watch the other video that goes through the texturing itself. That was the technical tool, a new technical tool with Photoshop you can use. And have a good week. Take it easy, guys.